So today, Arsenal have announced that 55 staff members are being let go by the club. Wasn't really the news I was anticipating following the FA Cup victory, and there's so many different opinions about this at the minute. So many people making a big deal out of it. So many people seem so nonchalant to it. And as I say, there are so many different ways of looking at it. When I saw that statement from the club, I honestly thought it was going to be with regards to transfer signings, possibly even something to do with Willian coming to the club, because of course there's so much talk about that going on at the moment. It really wasn't expecting Arsenal to be so vocal and so transparent about us getting rid of 55 staff members. As I say, lots of different ways of looking at it. And I think the first thing to say is, I wouldn't exactly call it noble, but it is honest of Arsenal to communicate this with supporters, to say that due to the situation that's going on in the world, we are having to let go of 55 staff members. And I do appreciate that from the club. I genuinely do. I think there are a lot of clubs out there, a lot of businesses out there that would never, ever make anything like this public. So it's good that Arsenal have done it from that point of view. And I mean, having worked in, having run my own business for a very short time frame, I can understand the want to cut costs. And if there are staff members that maybe are surplus to requirements because of what's going on in the world, I can understand why the club are making these cuts. But what I can't understand is that when we started with COVID lockdown in the UK, we were one of the first clubs. I think we were one of the only clubs in the Premier League to have taken pay cuts from the majority of the players and staff members, and yet we're still in a position where we're having to get rid of staff members. Now, whether those are caterers, whether they're people that work on the training facility, they're still staff members. They're still big parts of Arsenal Football Club, and they should be treated as such. And I think it's a shame that we've gone through this process of restricting wages on players, on staff members, only for us to sadly lose staff members. I think the whole purpose of us restricting the wages on players and staff was to avoid something like this happening, and we're one of the only clubs in the league to have done it. I mean, clubs will make cuts. That's the first thing to say. We've done it quickly, and I think the club will say they've done it effectively, but other clubs will definitely make cuts, because whilst there's no matchday revenue, there's going to be cuts, because Arsenal and any other club in the world is losing out on matchday revenue, losing out on food, even shirt sales that people buy, tourists buy on match days, drinks, that kind of thing, things that bring in millions of pounds of revenue every single match day. That's a huge loss to any club. I think you've got to take this statement with a bit of a pinch of salt, really, because we don't know exactly who the people are that have been let go of by the club. I'm sure there's been some people higher up. We know there's a scout that's been let go, supposedly, one scout that's found the likes of Fabregas, Alexis Sanchez, Hector Bellerin. And of course, if true, he's a big loss to the club. But whilst you can't travel the world, I mean, I suppose it makes sense from the club's point of view to let go of someone like him. And undoubtedly, he'll go to another team and do a really good job, I hope, in the near future, because it is a real shame to lose out on exceptional talent like that. But it wouldn't surprise me if a majority of the people that have been let go are people that are caterers, for example, or match days, people that are cooking the food that are so integral to the way smooth match day operation goes. I imagine a lot of those people will have been let go, because it's not a nice thing to say, but those are the people that in a business are easily replaceable, and they're probably the ones on the lower salary bracket as well. So I imagine the club are looking at that and thinking that we're going to get rid of these people for the time being, whilst we don't necessarily need them. And I imagine those type of people will be re-employed of a similar ilk, at least, when we do eventually get back to going to the stadiums, which will be soon. The one thing I can't quite understand is that, let's say these 55 people were all on a salary of 30,000 a year. I think that works out something like 1.6 million, which is a drop in the ocean to Arsenal Football Club. And as I say, a lot of these staff might be part-time members. They might be people that only work on match days. There will be people, of course, on higher salaries above 50,000, people on lower salaries below 20,000 perhaps. But let's say an average of 30,000 for everyone. It's still less than 2 million, which is nothing to Arsenal. It's a tiny little hole in Stan Kroenke's pocket, and you could definitely argue that whilst these people don't have a service to fulfil at Arsenal, as I say, those matchday people that are still getting paid effectively for doing nothing, I think the club will look at that and say, well, we're paying them for doing nothing. And even though it's been great that they've paid them on full until the end of the season, I think the club will definitely be looking at that and saying, well, we can't afford to do that for much longer. It's just a waste of resources that could potentially go towards player wages, that could go towards bringing in maybe even new staff, new players. And yeah, it's a really interesting one. As I say, it's come out of the blue, and I do appreciate the club being transparent, but it's definitely something that I don't think is going to put Arsenal in a good light. And one player it's definitely not putting a good light is Mesut Ozil. So much criticism has come his way this evening. 350 grand a week. We all know he's on that ridiculous, obscene salary. And, you know, if he donated like 3 or 4 weeks' wages, we wouldn't even be in this situation. Allegedly, he's one of the players that refused to take a wage cut. I can't even speculate on that. I don't know if that's true, if it's false. But allegedly, he is one of those players that didn't take a pay cut, which is why he's been left out of the team. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily right to point the finger at him. I think he wanted, well, supposedly, I mean, so many ifs, buts, question marks around this allegation, I suppose, around what he wanted to do with the money. He wanted reassurances that it was going to be going towards saving jobs. That hasn't happened, unfortunately, and supposedly he's put the money towards his personal charity funds as well, which, if he's done, is a very, very noble thing to do. But yeah, I don't think it's right to point the finger at him for earning a certain amount of money. Obviously, any one of those players, whether it's Gabriel Martinelli, Zech Medley, everyone is on an obscene amount of money that I'm probably never going to see in my lifetime. All I can say is fair play to him for earning that amount of money. It's absolutely crazy. But I don't think we can be pointing the finger at the players for this one, because they don't own the club. They don't run the club. They've been put in those financial situations by the owner, by the people upstairs, by Stan Kroenke, and all of this comes down to him. And as good as things have been in the past couple of months, really, with Mikel Arteta coming into the club, and how much change there's been, even that period under Unai Emery, Freddie Ljungberg, the transition from Wenger to now Arteta. The one thing that's remained constant is Stan Kroenke, and he will always come under criticism. And I don't think he's actually got enough criticism on this one. I was just thinking earlier, imagine if it was Mike Ashley, and he'd done this at Newcastle. Imagine if he's got rid of 55 staff members. It would not have gone down well at all in the media. He'd have got an awful lot of criticism, and Stan Kroenke deserves the exact same. But I think, in perspective, Arsenal are a club that employ thousands and thousands of people in all walks of life, from all areas of the world. And there's no doubt in my mind that there are still going to be lots of people with jobs at the club, but there's unfortunately going to be these 55 that do miss out. And I hope that the government are able to support people like this as much as possible, because I can guarantee there are going to be some people that are leaving the club that are going to struggle to get work for the foreseeable future, because the job market is so dreadful. I hope Arsenal are able to give them a good payout at least. But as I say, I think we can assume that a lot of the people that have been let go might be matchday staff. But I would say there's probably some media people that have been let go. Let's say if the club had 2 video editors, then I would imagine maybe one of them might let go, as an example. So yeah, it's going to be a tough time for those people, and my deepest sympathy does go out to them, because it's a horrible situation to be thrown into, especially from, I would say, if I was employed by Arsenal, I would see them as a trusted employer, and I would think the last thing they would do is make me redundant. So I think it must be a real blow to them, a real shock to the system, but hopefully they bounce back and are able to get out of this as soon as possible. But all in all, I don't think this is a good look for the club. But I think as a business, I think a lot of business people out there would probably not really see the downside to this. I think they'd probably understand where Arsenal are coming from, but that doesn't necessarily make it right. Morally, doesn't necessarily make it right. I think, loads of people have been saying Arsenal aren't a charity, they're a business, but I think you do have to put morals into question at some point, because, as I say, less than 2 million is a drop in the ocean to someone like Stan Kroenke, and we can definitely afford to keep these people on. But the flip side is they're getting paid for doing nothing, which, from a business point of view, whether it's a drop in the ocean or not, just isn't a good look to have. But also, this isn't a good look. I mean, it's such a catch-22. It's such a weird situation to be in. But as I say, the only thing I can say is that I hope those guys that have been let go by the club are able to get some work in ASAP, because we can all appreciate how tough things are in the world at the moment. But a lot going on at Arsenal. Of course, we're being linked to Willian. The season is round the corner. I mean, it just ended, but we've got the Community Shield in about 3 weeks' time, and then back to normal in terms of the Premier League. Obviously, without fans being in the ground, which I think is going to be some way away yet. But on that note, I'm going to wrap it up there. Let me know what you guys think of Arsenal letting go of 55 staff members. Please leave your thoughts in the comments box below. Bit of a different topic, bit of a different video, slightly more serious compared to the recent FA Cup win. Of course, we're on such a high. Things like this just bring it down a notch ever so slightly, bring us back down to reality. I mean, you can't help but wonder what our transfer situation is going to be if we're having to let go of staff members. That does concern me an awful lot. But as I say, let me know your thoughts on the game, on the situation, in the comments box below. Drop a like on the video if you have enjoyed it, and as always, I'll speak to you very, very soon. See you later, guys.